Thank you for joining me today to learn more about Office 365 and how it can help with your data protection and GDPR requirements. I'm Andrew Haller, the Managing Director and CTO of AMDH Services Limited. We're a small ICT consultancy specialising in ICT strategy, cloud services, Office 365, ICT security and ICT infrastructure. Today I'm going to spend some time talking about how Office 365 can help you with your data protection requirements and also how it can help you with the GDPR or General Data Protection Regulations from the EU. You might have noticed and wondered why is it that GDPR is mentioned quite a lot but the Data Protection Act isn't really anymore. Well, the UK implemented the EU General Data Protection Regulations as the Data Protection Act of 2018, so the two things are really pretty much the same. Further clarification in regards the GDPR was provided in the Brexit or the European Union Withdrawal Act of 2018 as well, making it clear that even once the UK has left the EU, the GDPR regulations will continue to apply to us. This means that after the UK exits, we'll remain aligned to the GDPR and it's still going to be relevant. If you're a small organisation, there are a number of questions that you need to ask yourselves, and in fact these questions are valid even if you're a large organisation. These aren't of my own making, these are from the ICO, the UK Information Commissioner. Firstly, do you know what personal data is? You can't really comply with the GDPR if at an organisation you don't understand what personal data is. Do you have a record of what personal data you hold, and do you know why you hold that personal data? Do the people about whom you hold personal data, do they know that you hold their data and how you use it? So do they know why you've got it? How do they know that? There must be a means, a mechanism by which you've intentionally gone about telling them that. Do you only collect the personal data that you actually need, or do you collect more than just that? Really, under the GDPR, you're only allowed to collect data that you actually need. Do you keep personal data for only as long as it's needed for, and do you specify somewhere what the retention policy around that is? Do you keep personal records accurate and up to date? Do you keep personal data secure? Do you know what rights people have in regards to their personal information? Do you have a way that people can get in touch with you in order to exercise their rights regards to the personal data you hold about them? Do you have a way in which your staff are trained and means by which they've learnt about what their responsibilities to the citizens about whom you hold personal data are? Are you aware that if you process personal data and you're the controller, that you need to pay a fee to the Information Commissioner for that, called a data protection fee? Under the GDPR, citizens have a number of rights, there's 8 of them. The right to be informed, so the right for somebody about whom you hold their data to be told that you hold their data. The right of access, so people have a right to request access to the data you hold about them. The right to rectification, so the ability for people to say, there's this information you hold about me and it's wrong, please can you fix it? The right to erasure, not the banned, the right to actually ask for your information to be deleted. The right to restrict processing. So let's suppose you've got a particular app that you're planning to use with some information. Somebody has to have the right to be able to go, I'm happy for you to hold my data, but not if you're using this app with it, or not if you're using it in that way. The right to data portability, a limited right here rather than a unlimited right, but there is some situations in which people can request to be able to gain access and take their data away with them. The right to object to processing, so people can ask for you not to process their data in certain ways, but they can also object to you processing it completely. And there are also some rights relating to automated decision making and profiling. So things like evaluating staff as to whether you'll look at their CVs and consider them for a job in an automated fashion without ever a human looking at it. There's rights around that as well. The GDPR has, in order for you to enact it properly, has a fairly lengthy list of documents that you'd need. Some of these you could perhaps combine down, but the full list is basically a data protection policy that covers the personal data you hold, a privacy notice that states publicly how you comply with the GDPR, an employee privacy notice that states how you process data relating to your employees, a data retention policy that states how long you hold different data for. It needs to be clear that you only hold data for as long as it's needed in that document. a data retention schedule. That's basically a list of the different records you hold and how long you hold them for and how you will dispose them when they're no longer required. You potentially could combine those two, the data retention policy and the schedule. And a formal means of gaining consent for all the data you hold, and a record of how you've obtained consent for all the data you hold. This might be that you ask people when you collect their data, but if you do, you need to somehow record that after the event. Data processing or data sharing agreements, a formal agreement with any third parties that process data on your behalf. A data protection impact assessment, or a DPIA. A DPIA, it's a formal record of some specific processing. It could relate to an application or it could be a project you're running, and it evaluates the basis upon which the data is held or processed, who's processing the data, why it's being processed, and how the processing complies with the law, and what risks exist with the processing and how those risks are mitigated. You'll end up with a fair number of DPIAs, and they have to all be held in a DPIA register, which is just a log of all those documents, I suppose. You also need to hold a data breach response and notification procedure that specifies, if you have a data breach, how you'll handle that, what actions you'll take, and then there's an obligation for you to inform the Information Commissioner as well, and you have to have a procedure for which you follow to do that. And finally, whenever you do have a data breach, you need to record that in a register, in addition to providing a response to it and notifying the ICO, and that's called the Data Breach Register.